Representative Titus, we welcome you to the Assembly. We await your comments and look forward to your insight that we will be seeing in the near future. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. Governor Sandoval, Speaker Hamrick, Majority Leader Roberson, Leaders Kirkpatrick and Ford, distinguished guests, old friends, and you aren't mutually exclusive, and new members. It is my pleasure to be back here in Carson City. I'm sorry that Debbie Smith is not with us, but I understand that she is doing better and will be here soon, so please give her my regards. Thank you so much for letting me join you here this evening. I was a little apprehensive when writing this speech because I heard some of you might be packing, and that made me a little nervous, but nonetheless, it's always good to come back to the Nevada Legislature. I spent 20 years here serving the good people of District 7, and I worked with many dedicated public servants, just like you, who give so much of their time and effort for the people of Nevada and making this a better place. You know, I have a lot of memories about my time here, so I hope you'll indulge me while I kind of reminisce a little bit. Some of you may know these stories, but some of you are new and don't have much institutional memory, so I hope you'll appreciate hearing about some of your former colleagues. I remember, for instance, when Senator Bob Coffin went on a hunger strike because he couldn't get his bill passed. He didn't seem to be losing much weight, but we didn't call him on it. Then one day he pretended to swoon down in the well of the Senate, and Senator Nolan, who was an EMT, leapt over the bar to rush down there and try to revive him. Now, when he turned him over to give him CPR, Bob was outed because a banana fell out of his pocket. And I don't know if some of you knew it or not, but smoking used to be allowed on the floor. And in one very fiery speech, when the inimitable Marvin Sedway was railing against the mining industry, he caught his own beard on fire. See, that's how it used to be around here. Then there was one time, late one night, when the Republicans got mad about something, and they stormed off the Senate floor and they forgot to adjourn. Well, Senator Neal, who was a master of the rules, said, just hold tight for a few minutes. So we did, and then after everybody had left the building, he called for a quorum. So as the sergeant of arms had to run out there and arrest all the Republicans, find them to bring them back, a lot of them had already left to go to Reno. We got Ann O'Connell back in her pajamas. She came back. But in the meantime, we ran the board. So even though you're in the minority, you can still do things. So remember that if you know the rules, right, Meg? And then the one time, this was after I had left the Senate, y'all were kind enough to induct me into the Hall of Fame. And there was a very nice ceremony, and people were talking about how I had been their mentor. Now, you say that when somebody's been around a long time, like my student, Scott. But anyway, at the end, Senator Raggio stood up and said, well, you may have been their mentor, but for 20 years, you were my tormentor. So see, Senator Ford, this is your new role, at least for now. Remember that. You know, over the years, I worked with some of the best legislators. Barbara Buckley, who was such a champion for children, and I understand this is Children's Week here at the legislature, so that's a tribute to her work. Randolph Townsend, who was a real pioneer in pushing renewable energy for Nevada. Maggie Carlton, who brought payday candy bars, put them on all our desks, and advocated equal pay for equal work long before we knew about Billy Ledbetter. Remember that? And then Dean Rhodes. Dean Rhodes is a real cowboy, a true cowboy, and he hated federal intervention, whether it was on the rangeland or in the bedroom, and I had to appreciate that. And of course, for all of that time, you had Ed Vogel, who recorded it and witnessed it all, and we certainly miss him around here. Then there were the giants. You know, you had Jack Vergils, Joe Dini, Bill Raggio, all of them gone now, but they left us with a legacy, and they taught me one of the most valuable lessons I learned in public life, and that's that the interest of the people should always trump politics. They were able to accomplish all that they did because they worked across the aisle to further the common good. And so whether it's here in Carson City or 2,500 miles to the east in Washington, we should carry on that legacy. The staff too was amazing. Brenda Erdos, Don Williams, Dennis Nylander, the governor's father, Mr. Ron Sandoval, all of them were so kind, so qualified, so talented, and so patient. So every day you should thank LCB for making you look good. You know, my colleagues in Washington, knowing how hard that Nevada was hit during the recession, always come up to me and ask me the same thing. They say, Dina, how are things going in Nevada? And I'm proud to tell them that we're coming back. I'm very optimistic. You know, unemployment is down by half. The cranes are working on the Strip again. We're going to welcome more visitors this year to Las Vegas than ever. The housing market is ticking up, and companies like Tesla are relocating here. So I tell them that our battle-born spirit, while shaken, was never broken, and we're very excited about that. But we all in this room know that we have a ways to go, and as the governor said, we've got to work together to create a new Nevada. So toward that end, I'm trying to do what I can in Washington, focusing on ways that the federal government can complement what you all are doing here in the state. First, we all know that businesses seeking to expand or to relocate look for a state with a well-trained workforce. And today, that well-trained workforce means those who are qualified in the STEM fields. In Nevada, unfortunately, we fall short. There was a Brookings Institute study that recently came out that concluded, and I quote, "Too few Nevadans are ready to participate in the state's emerging STEM economy." Towards that end, I've introduced two bills that are both bipartisan to try to boost STEM education nationally as well as here in Nevada. One would allow veterans to get additional GI Bill benefits so they could major in the STEM fields. Those majors usually take longer and are more expensive because of the lab classes, and they need those additional resources. And veterans have training and background that make them really good candidates for STEM subjects. The other bill would have increased federal investment in STEM programs at universities and colleges that serve minority students. And these would also create scholarships for minorities and women because they are less likely to study the STEM fields. And we want to encourage them because they're no less qualified to do so. But you know what? We've got to start earlier, and not just with STEM investment. We are failing our children all across the education spectrum, from art to zoology. There was a phrase that I coined when I was in the legislature, and I hear it used often still today, unfortunately. Nevada's on the top of every bad list and the bottom of every good list. You know, that was meant to be a clarion call for change and reform, but I'm afraid it's become kind of a motto of sorts that's used often by the pundits, and it's especially true in the area of education. I congratulate you all for passing the school bond rollover. Thank you for doing that. And now you have an opportunity to make real improvements in our education system here in Nevada. So I encourage you not to miss that chance. Funding for education should be considered an investment and not an expenditure. So thank you for what you do. You know, we've also got to make investments in infrastructure, and that's the backbone of commerce throughout our state. Whether it's trucks on America's longest highway or limousines on the Las Vegas Strip, we've got to be able to move people and products around efficiently and effectively. That's the only way we're going to be able to compete in global markets. I began now my third term on the House Infrastructure and Transportation Committee. I sought that out because I think it is so important for Nevada's economy, and I pledge to work with you all as we try to strengthen Nevada's infrastructure. One of the most critical infrastructure projects and one of my priorities is the development of I-11, Interstate 11 from Phoenix to Las Vegas and beyond as part of the Canamex corridor. I'm proud to be the co-chair of the Congressional Caucus for I-11. This is a bipartisan group of legislators from Nevada and Arizona. We're trying to convince our colleagues as we look at the highway reauthorization bill that this is a critical part of our national transportation plan, not just something that affects Nevada. I'm also a member of the Aviation Subcommittee, and I'm doing what I can to complement the work that y'all are doing here on unmanned aerial systems. I have a hard time saying that, so for now I'll just call them drones. Is that okay? I lobbied the FAA Administrator Huerta to pick Nevada as one of the 6 test sites. I'm very excited about the potential there. And we worked hard to get them to the FAA finally issued those rules for the sky that have come out recently to deal with some of the commercial use of these drones. Now comes the comment period, and we're again trying to get the Secretary to pick Nevada as a place to hold one of the public hearings, because I think there's the expertise and the excitement here that will be able to create a very informative and informed testimony in those hearings. So hopefully that we can do that. Another way that we can work together is on behalf of Nevada veterans. I'm honored to serve our veterans on the House Committee, and one of my goals is to be sure that Nevada's veterans get the benefits and the health care that they deserve and have earned. Unfortunately, the brand new VA hospital in Las Vegas is struggling to recruit and retain doctors, so our veterans often face unacceptably long wait periods. To address this, I introduced successful legislation to create more residency programs in VA hospitals in places that have are underserved by doctors like Las Vegas and like rural Nevada. Now the challenge is finding ways to support the educational programs for these new residents. So as you continue your discussions of the much-needed UNLV Medical School, remember that when you are helping the school, you are also supporting our nation's heroes. So thank you for doing that. We've also got to make the VA more relevant for all, I say that with capital letters, all 21st century veterans. And Senator Spearman, I'm going to need your help with this. The population of women veterans is growing, yet the VA struggles to provide the most basic health care that women need. In addition, outdated federal law means that LGBT veterans don't get the benefits that they deserve in states that don't recognize marriage equality. Now that's not true in Nevada, thanks to the leadership of Senator Parks, but in some states, one day you're in the service in uniform, you get the benefit, the next day you're a veteran and you lose it. That's just not fair. And furthermore, our youngest post 9/11 veterans, especially women, often have child care needs. So that prevents them from taking advantage of both education and employment programs like Nevada's Green Zone Initiative, so that they can then go into the workplace and more successfully provide for their families. We need to work together to promote all of these issues. Now, as Senator Segerblum knows, another way to roll the VA into the modern world is by changing some of the outdated policies on medical marijuana. We need to allow more scientific testing of the drug for potential use in the treatment of PTSD and in pain management, and that is coming. While we're on the subject, following the actions of the last legislative session involving medical marijuana, it became very clear to me that Nevada needed a strong voice in the Congress to do several things. One, to ensure that our state's rights and our state's interests are respected. Two, to be sure that this burgeoning new industry can operate like the legitimate business that it is. And most importantly, that patients can get the medical care that they need. So I'm co-sponsoring several bills to that effect in Washington as well. Finally, two other issues of importance to Nevada that are being considered in Washington are comprehensive immigration reform and protection of our public lands for future generations. Thanks to the leadership of Harry Reid, these are both moving forward in the Senate, and I'm committed to pressing for them in the House because I believe that not only is it the morally right thing to do, but it's also the economically wise course of action to take. Now, before I conclude, I don't want to go too much longer than Mark Amadei did, even though it's not quite as casual as that. I want to ask you a favor. I want you to send one of those resolutions that y'all passed from the legislature back to Congress. And I want this resolution to be in support of repealing the sports betting handles tax. Now, this is something y'all can do bipartisan. Even the RJ is in favor of this. So you don't have to worry about it. Nevada is the only state that pays this handles tax on sports betting. And it was supposed to go at the federal level to fight illegal betting, but it doesn't. It just goes into the general fund. Doesn't mean much for the federal general fund, but it's $9 to $12 million that we could better keep here in the state to create jobs, grow businesses, and help our own economy. So please send me that resolution. Thank you. So let me end by saying, as you conduct your important work here over the next couple of months on that blueprint for Nevada, please consider me an advocate, a resource, and a partner. And as we continue our journey to putting Nevada on the top of the good list, let's remember the working men and women without whose efforts we wouldn't have gotten as far as we have. Let's remember those who laid the railroads, who built the Boulder Dam, who dug the mines and won the Cold War, who wait the tables and teach our children. Those are the unsung heroes whose stories make Nevada such a great place. Thank you, organized labor. Pleasure visiting with you tonight, and it's truly an honor to serve as your colleague representing District 1 in Washington and all of Nevada in Congress. One of the best parts of the job is welcoming people who come not just from District 1, but from all over the Silver State back to visit. So if you get back there and you're looking for my office, it's really easy to find. Just ask anybody. They'll tell you it's the one with the cutout of Liberace standing by the front door. Thank you very much.
Senator Woodhouse.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate and Assembly in joint session extend a vote of thanks to Representative Titus for her timely, able, and constructive message. Thank you.
Thank you. Assemblywoman Bustamante Adams.
I second that motion.
All right, you've all heard the motion. Those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. The appointed committee will please escort Representative Titus to the bar of the Assembly. Thank you again, Congresswoman. Thank you very much.